What's up, my dude? Bro, always got to try to come up with some little variation to the intro, dude. Oh, man. You know the Spency boy. So, we got Perris Raceway. Made by G-Dub, okay. Big dude in the MX Bikes community. Doing a little track review on this one. So, one interesting little thing about this track, this is one of the rare occasions, the super rare occasions when the tighter, narrow, you know, more like one-to-one scaling, as you would call it. This is like that rare time when I actually feel like it fits the kind of track that it's trying to be. You know, you guys always hear me talking about, well, this MX Bikes track, if it was just a little bit bigger scaling or if it was just a little bit wider, it'd be a lot better. And I do feel that way for 90% of MX Bikes tracks. I just think, like, overall, in general, as a whole, they seem to have this more narrow, crampy, compared to like MX simulator style custom tracks and, you know, replica tracks and things like that. MX Bikes has always had a little bit more of a narrowy, one-to-one, smaller, you know, kind of scaling sort of feel to it. And typically I'm kind of, you know, I wish some of the tracks would expand a little bit more where you can kind of, you know, carry your flow better, get more speed. The jumps are a little bit bigger than one-to-one scaling to give you a little bit more of a challenge. Typically, that's how I am, right? But with this Perris Raceway track right here, this one, because it is that local vibe, you know, amateur-y, locally kind of motocross style track, something about it just fit with it having that smaller MX Bikesy one-to-one style scaling. You know, that narrow, might could fit like 3 bikes, you know, handlebar to handlebar width on the track. If they were all beside each other, might be able to fit 3. Hell, there's some spots I don't even think you could fit 3 bikes beside each other. That is narrow in a dirt bike video game, bro. That is narrow. But the way this dude built it, the way G-Dub built this track right here, it's got a very interesting, right on the border of the track, right on the edge of the track. It's almost like it's like you're in a little bit of a bowl when you're in the track, you know what I'm saying? The whole time you're in the track. So it's got this interesting, you can kind of bank off the little bowl side of the track that you're in a lot of these spots, and it really feels like what I think Perris would actually feel like just from kind of the, you know, the video footage I've seen of it and stuff like that. Didn't Adam Cianciarulo run some laps on that shit on a 125 like back in the day, right before he went pro? Pretty sure. I'm not a hundo on that, but I'm pretty sure, bro. Somebody can confirm that in the comments if they want, but there's not a lot of them out there that are like that. So this to me personally, this is a pretty rare kind of deal right here. You can still carry a lot of momentum on this track. It's all in how you make everything, you know. I've noticed that with a lot of MX Bikes custom tracks, especially the more narrow ones. A lot of the reason why they feel so shitty is because it's like the corner will sweep too tight where you can't exactly carry your speed, or there's not big enough pre-made berms where you can bank off of anything. So then it kind of gets this weird like slow down, stop, flat track. You know, there's a lot of MX Bikes tracks out there like that. But with this track right here, it's got a lot more of a flow to it, even though it's pretty narrow in some spots. You know, it's still kind of got that flow because that outside berm is just big enough where you can kind of get into it. There's not like a lot of crazy, like some weird super big single that's like way bigger scaling than the rest of the track to throw you off where you can't really jump as far down something, or, you know, there's nothing on this track that I feel like is just going to intentionally kill your flow. You know what I mean? I was kind of speaking about that on that Redwick track review. There's a couple corners on that track that just don't exactly fit the rest of the track, in my opinion. They get like too tight. The ruts curve super tight and weird. But this track has a little bit more, even though it's probably smaller scaling overall, it's a little more consistent throughout the whole track. You know, these corners kind of sweep in a way where, for the most part, once you go around one or two corners in this game, you pretty much got your basis on how hard you're going to be able to hold that throttle down into the corner, how hard you're going to have to get on the brakes, when when your braking points are going to be, how you got to angle that bike around. Yeah, other than that, I mean, it's just kind of cool. Kind of gives you that, I was telling you boys, it's kind of built up a little bit on the sides of the track everywhere. Well, it kind of gives you that interesting feeling, almost like you're in a water slide or something like that, where you can kind of, really bank off of the sides of the track, even when it's not necessarily like the berm in the corner. It really does have that little bit dug down in a bowl shape over the entire track, which gives it a very realistic feel too. That's one of the biggest tips I used to tell you boys back in the day making MX Sim custom tracks. Before you do anything, you want to go in there and dig down right on the layout a little bit so that your off track is not on the exact same level of your on track. That is one of the biggest beginner mistakes you can make with any kind of custom track, I feel like. And then it gives you that feeling like you're riding on the on track and the off track at the same time, if they're not got a, different level that they're at. If the on track is not kind of dug down, you got to create that illusion of like, when you ride, a bunch of bikes are on the on track and they're working the track and they're prepping the track, it's obviously going to dig that down a little bit more everywhere than the off track. So there's all those little things like that, you know what I mean? This track does have a little bit of roughness, but not enough to really... I mean, if you're even halfway decent at this game, I don't think you're going to find yourself flipping over in this roughness. This definitely gave me the feeling like I was on the real life track. Some spots you can try to carry the speed. There's like one tabletop that might be like 100 foot technically, but that is definitely the biggest jump on here. Even the rollers, I mean, the rollers on this track, you're not really going to have to do anything on the bike, So this track does really have a lot of flow to it, for sure, in that sense, because there's no real obstacle or anything that's going to really slow you down. That's what slows you down on a lot of those super pro tracks, is the bigger roughness and the bigger obstacles, and then that creates bigger, more skill gap jump potentials and stuff like that. Not a whole lot of different line options on this track, and a lot of times the more local vibe style tracks are like that. They just kind of get one lined, or you just hit that one outside berm or whatever. There are a couple of pre-made inside ruts, but I mean, I don't know what exactly this track would do with a shitload of deformation, but that would probably be pretty interesting. The off track is not like a crazy amount of, work and stuff like that, but this is one of those like probably a little more skybox than it is actual objects and, stuff like that. But this is what I'd call, it gets the job done, off track, especially for this particular kind of track. Some of these real life tracks are pretty basic off track, so there's sometimes not a whole lot you can do. That is a cool like rock style formation dude's got right there. He does have some fence objects and things like that, but overall, yeah, it really gives you that Perris kind of feel. That's the biggest thing about this track. There's something about it really gave me that feeling. Felt like what I feel like it would feel like, you know what I'm saying, bro? So overall, I'm going to give this track like I don't know, it's probably like an 8 overall. Difficulty is easy. but you can still get to going pretty fast and carry in some speed, and you can definitely run off the edge of these berms. So it's not like there's no skill level, but like I feel like a beginner is going to be able to get around this track without much effort, you know. And there's not a whole lot of jumps you're really going to be able to just totally separate yourself on. There is one of them you can kind of double that a beginner might not be able to hit, but there's not a whole lot of that. You know, you would have to beat the guy off of raw, just being on the gas more. That's really the only way you can really be all that much faster on a track like this. You can't really be faster by jumping, like jump skill or obstacle skill, like rollers or whoops or roughness. You can't really go faster by having the balls to hold it down over something like that, or having the skill to be able to control the bike over. It's not really like that. It's literally just once you kind of figure out how to cut through the layout of the track, and you're not just totally wasting yourself in every corner going all the way around the outside, you know, once you get to that point, it's pretty much just throttle. It's who's on the throttle the longest, you know, who gets on the throttle quicker out of the corners. So it's got an interesting skill gap feel to it in that sense, you know. It's a lot of people could go fast on this track, but very few people could go super, super duper fast on this track. You know, it's kind of like that. So either way, man, all my track reviews are on a playlist. Appreciate you guys watching all the videos. See you boys on that next one. Later, dudes.